Have you ever wondered why you feel stuck in the same patterns, even after trying countless self-help methods and meditation techniques? What if I told you that the answer to genuine transformation isn't hidden in complex philosophies or expensive programs, but rather lies in understanding something so profoundly simple that most people completely overlook it? Today, we're going to explore one of humanity's most powerful spiritual secrets, a teaching so elegant that it has guided millions toward true peace and liberation for over 25 centuries. Welcome back to the channel. If you're seeking genuine understanding about how to achieve real freedom in your life, stay with me because what I'm about to share could fundamentally change how you relate to yourself and the world around you. Most of us spend our entire lives trying to escape our suffering. We meditate, we exercise, we change our circumstances, we adopt new beliefs, and yet something feels incomplete. We experience moments of peace and happiness, but they never seem to last. The problem isn't that we're doing something wrong. The problem is that we're trying to solve a puzzle without understanding what the puzzle actually is. To genuinely extinguish suffering, to experience what the ancient masters called nibbana or true liberation, we must first understand the four great elements that make up the very foundation of all existence. These four great elements are not just philosophical concepts. They're the literal building blocks of everything you experience. Every sensation in your body, every thought in your mind, every emotion you feel is composed of these four elements. The ancient texts describe them as earth, water, fire, and air. But don't dismiss this as mere symbolism. When we understand these elements correctly, not as abstract ideas, but as living realities that we can directly observe in our own experience, something remarkable happens. We begin to naturally free ourselves from the patterns that have kept us trapped. Here's what most people don't realize about seeking genuine peace. When a being seeks to be extinguished, when a person genuinely wants to be free from suffering, they're not looking for temporary relief. They're not seeking a quick fix or a moment of relaxation. They're asking for something fundamental, and that fundamental change can only happen when we understand the very elements that create the illusion of a separate self. The person who wants liberation must recognize that the peace they seek isn't something that can come to them from the outside. It must arise from within, through direct understanding of what they are made of. Think about your own experience for a moment. You feel sadness because you perceive sadness. You suffer because you interpret your circumstances as suffering. But here's the revolutionary insight. If you were to develop a nature within yourself, a way of being that doesn't register sorrow even when circumstances would normally trigger sadness, then you would naturally not suffer. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending things don't hurt. It's about fundamentally transforming your relationship to what you experience. And this transformation only becomes possible when you deeply understand the nature of the four elements. Every single teaching, whether it comes from science or spirituality, whether it's ancient or modern, attempts in some way to help us understand these four great elements. Why? Because understanding them is literally the difference between liberation and continued suffering. The most advanced spiritual teachers throughout history have dedicated their teachings to helping others grasp this one essential principle. And it's not because this principle is so complicated. It's actually the opposite. It's so simple that the human mind tends to overlook it. We have been conditioned to believe that enlightenment, that achieving the state of freedom, which is called arahantship in the ancient traditions, must require some deeply profound, almost incomprehensible worldly wisdom. We imagine it must be something so complex that only the most intellectually advanced people could ever understand it. But the truth, based on careful observation and direct investigation, is that it's a science so beautifully simple that the human mind often cannot even comprehend how simple it truly is. We're looking for complexity in something that is fundamentally and profoundly simple. Let me illustrate this principle with an analogy that might reshape how you see this entire challenge. Imagine someone trying to understand the location of a house by standing inside it. From inside the house, they might get a sense of the house itself. They might understand its layout and furniture, but they will never truly see where the house is located. To see the location of the house, the person must step outside of it. They must leave the house entirely and then look back at it from a distance. Only then can they truly perceive its position in relation to everything else. This is exactly what happens when we try to investigate the nature of the universe using only the universe, when we try to understand karma using only karmic patterns, when we try to explore the mind using only the mind. We become like someone standing inside the house, unable to see its true position. The universe is researching itself through its own mechanisms. Karma is investigating itself through its own consequences, and the mind is trying to understand itself using itself. This creates a fundamental paradox that can never be resolved through conventional investigation. The ancient masters recognized this problem, and this is why they didn't encourage people to spend endless hours trying to understand the cosmic mechanics of the universe, or attempting to figure out the complete nature of karma, or endlessly analyzing the mind. Instead, they pointed to something radically different. They suggested that the answers to these infinite questions don't come through seeking those answers, but through a complete shift in approach. If you want to understand the universe, you must step outside of it. If you want to understand karma, you must stop using karma itself as your tool of investigation. If you want to understand the mind, you must explore without relying on the mind to do the exploring. This sounds paradoxical until you actually begin to attempt it. And when you begin to practice this approach, something unexpected happens. The answers start to reveal themselves naturally, not through intellectual analysis, but through direct insight. Now, here's where the four great elements come back into focus. Everything that creates your sense of self, everything that makes you feel like a separate individual having an individual experience, is made from these four elements. Your body is made of them. Your sensations arise from them. Your perceptions emerge from them. The very sense of being a self is constructed through the interplay of these elements. When you understand this, truly understand it, and not just intellectually accept it, your relationship to yourself fundamentally changes. Understanding doesn't mean gaining more information. Understanding, in this context, means direct perception and recognition of how these elements actually function in your lived experience. It means seeing how the earth element in your body maintains your physical form, how the water element keeps your bodily systems flowing, how the fire element generates warmth and transformation, and how the air element allows for movement and expansion. But more importantly, it means recognizing that none of these elements are you. They are components, they are processes, they're natural phenomena arising according to natural law. When this recognition becomes not just an intellectual belief but a lived experience, when you can directly perceive it in your daily life, something remarkable happens. The grasp that you have on your identity loosens. The attachment that binds you to your sense of a separate self starts to naturally release. And in that release, the suffering that was always connected to defending and maintaining that separate self begins to fade. This isn't enlightenment as some distant goal. This is liberation as a progressive, observable unfolding of understanding. The ancient texts describe different stages of this process. They mention temporary states of deep meditation called samadhi, where peace is achieved through mental concentration. These states are real and valuable, but they are not the same as genuine liberation. True liberation only comes through understanding, not through temporary mental states. You can achieve profound meditative peace and still maintain all your unconscious patterns and attachments. In fact, many advanced practitioners have achieved these states only to discover that when they come out of the meditation, nothing has changed. The same habits return. The same patterns resume. Same suffering resumes because the fundamental understanding hasn't shifted. But when understanding develops, when the nature of the four elements becomes clear to you through your own direct observation, then something irreversible happens. It's not that you never feel difficult emotions again. It's that you stop being trapped by them. You stop building your entire life around avoiding them. You stop creating karma trying to escape from them. The emotions arise like weather in the sky, but they no longer define your fundamental state of being. This is what genuine freedom looks like. Many of us have been sold a version of spirituality that makes enlightenment seem like something that should be complicated and difficult to achieve. We imagine it must involve years of intense practice, that it must require special abilities or special circumstances. But every teaching, from the most ancient traditions to modern psychology, points to the same underlying principle. And this principle is accessible to anyone right now in their current circumstances with their current level of understanding. The pathway is to develop right understanding about the four elements that compose all experience. This raises a profound question that sits at the heart of all existence. Why does anything exist at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? When we ask why all phenomena arise, when we ask why what appears eventually disappears, when we ask why the universe operates according to the laws it operates according to, we're asking fundamental questions that the universe itself cannot answer. It's like asking a dream character why the dream exists. The character is made from the dream. The question can never be answered from within the framework that is being questioned. This is why the truly wise approach is not to get lost in infinite questioning about the cosmic origins and ultimate meaning of everything. Instead, it's to focus on what you can directly investigate and transform. You can investigate your own experience. You can observe the four elements functioning in your own life. You can watch how attachment to these elements, how the belief that you are these elements, creates the experience of being trapped and suffering. And through that direct observation, freedom becomes possible. The deepest understanding arises not when we fill our minds with more information, but when we learn to observe what's already present with clear, unclouded awareness. The four elements are not hidden. They're right here, operating in every moment, evident in every sensation, every breath, every heartbeat, every thought. What's required is not more learning, but more honest observation. What's required is not more complexity, but increasing simplicity in how we attend to what's happening. In the end, genuine liberation boils down to this simple principle. If you want to be free from suffering, you must thoroughly understand these four great elements. Not understand them as abstract concepts studied in a classroom, but understand them as the very nature of your being. Understand earth as solidity and structure, water as fluidity and flow, fire as energy and transformation, and air as space and movement. See how they compose everything you perceive. See how your sense of being a person is constructed from their interplay. See how your suffering is the result of clinging to them as if they were a permanent, unchanging self. And when this understanding becomes clear, when it moves from your intellectual mind into your direct lived experience, that is when the four elements can finally return to their natural state, unobstructed by your attempts to own them or control them or make them permanent. That is when what the ancient masters called nibbana, the extinguishing of the fires of craving and attachment, naturally occurs. Not as something you achieve through striving, but as something that naturally emerges when the confusion about what you are finally clears. Thank you for spending this time with these ideas. If this perspective resonates with you, if you're genuinely interested in moving from temporary relief toward genuine understanding and lasting freedom, please subscribe to the channel. Share this with others who might benefit from this teaching. And most importantly, don't just listen to these words as concepts. Take them into your life. Observe your own experience. Watch the four elements functioning in your being right now. That direct observation is where real transformation begins.